बुलाता उसे घर। क्या ये बात लाइव गई है? अंदर की बात बाहर गई है। चलो ठीक है यार, कोई बात नहीं। देखिए जी, हमारा ये परिवार है और परिवार में कोई किसी से कुछ भी चीज़ छुपाता नहीं है। और जिस रीज़न की वज़ह से ये परिवार आया है, वो भाई बहुत बड़ा दिन था उसके लिए, इंडियन फुटबॉल। जो हमारी वुमेन्स टीम है, एशियन कप में आज खेल रही थी, आई थिंक काफ़ी सालों बाद, आई डोंट नो द एग्ज़ैक्ट नंबर। And their first game was with Iran, and it's ended as 0-0. In a game, you'd have to say that they've lost 2 points. At least I would look at it like that. They've lost 2 points because if the first 20-25 minutes, Iran was really in the game, we were a little off the pace. पर उसके बाद से तो भाई आपने मौका दिया ही नहीं है। इक्के दुक्के मौके आए ईरान के पास, गेम पूरा कंट्रोल किया यहाँ पे इंडिया ने। And they had a lot of chances in the second half, especially Dangmai Grace with that header. I think आज रात को नींद नहीं आने वाली उनको कि वो थोड़ा सा इस तरफ होता है header. You got a great save out of the goalkeeper from Iran, but nonetheless, goal नहीं मिला यहाँ पे इंडिया को. They've got the 1 point. A good start nonetheless to the Asian Cup, but remember you need 4 points if you want to make it to the knockouts. If you make it to the knockouts, you have a chance of making it to the World Cup as well. Thank you so much for joining us on 420 grams. As we had publicized that we will be coming to you on every India match day post the final whistle. And here we are. We're joined by a solid star cast. We're joined by Sharda Ugra, Richard Hood, who's busy analyzing the game. He's not showing you the black and white board जिसपे वो टाटू 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 कर रहा है, पर भाई आज पूरा तैयार होके आए हैं हमारे. And Siddhant Annie, who was the बेस्ट ड्रेस्ड. भाई ये क्या हो गया आज? ये यू आर लुकिंग लाइक बैटमैन. हाँ, क्या क्या सीन है भाई? हाउ वाज द मैच?
It's really unfortunate that the only thing you have to ask me these days, Pandit, is what I'm wearing.
नहीं नहीं भाई, see the thing is, you and I had a conversation, and would I be right in saying that they dropped or lost 2 points here? This was a game for taking 3 points after what you saw in the 90.
Yeah, super impressed with Iran for actually winning those 2 points. It started off as we expected, tentative, cagey, all of that, and against what most of us or most of the media had said Iran might do, which is park the bus. Right? There was no parking of any bus.
No
It was a
chance.
straight up game of equals, going out to get a point, and that whole angle of tournament football that we were talking about came into play right from the beginning, instead of what we thought might happen after the first half or 60 70 minutes into the game or whatever. For Yeah, I have to say though, yeah, should have won this game. It was there. I mean, some of the play was so good. Some of the players were so good on both sides, of course. But we are not. I am not approaching this as a neutral for sure. I believe also a far more important voice has joined. So I will now leave it for later.
हाँ भाई, the point of the first question coming to you is not coming to you again. That's for sure.
Ever.
We are not starting the show with you. But Renedy Bhai is here, former India captain, and the man who is killing it on the touchline with East Bengal. Renedy Bhai, can you hear us?
Bhai, सुनाई नहीं दिया. I don't know how I don't know if anyone
Okay,
can
okay.
see
Renedy
me.
Bhai, आप अपने आप को sort out करो. When you're sorted out, just give us the thumbs up.
Yeah.
Sharda, what did you make of the game?
But I have
2
to
points
say,
lost?
even I'm becoming old and cranked, this thing, but I really enjoyed it in a way that I was trying to watch it dispassionately. As much as I wanted the Indians to do well, I was so happy to see the way they played. I was so impressed by so many passages of play that they had, the passes they make, how they were able to string things together. And that's the thing about football, कि भाई goal नहीं score करोगे, then you'll just be, after some time, if you see this happening for 5 matches, you'll say, bas ho gaya, bas now, I want goal. That kind of thing. I think the star for Iran was their goalkeeper, basically because they're doing all the work, and the other, the forward, Zendi.
Oh, she was good. She's so good.
She was just incredible because of the standard with which she was playing also.
Yeah.
And there was one defender, number 5, who was just tackling like a complete beast towards the end. I didn't get the girl's name. And I'm watching these girls playing, and they have to worry about their headscarf coming off, and they're still defending and they're still at it. I mean, really, really impressive match by both teams in a way. But honestly, the Indians should have scored. This was their best chance to get 3 points in their group. So
Yeah.
it's just unfortunate, but it was lovely to watch them play, to see them, to see what all had been talked about, and all the preparation that's happened, and it was some of the play. I mean, why didn't Grace Dangmai play from the start? If you can explain to me, I'd be very happy.
I thought I
वो
really liked
थोड़ा
the
बता
girl who was
दीजिए.
playing before her. I liked that girl a lot. What was her name? I think
Which
her name
girl
was
was that?
Sandy. Sandy
Sandhya.
or Sanju?
Sandy.
Sandy,
There
yeah,
was a
17-year-old
Sandy and
girl.
a Sandy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. But I thought Zaza,
The striker.
oh no, the striker. Yeah. She had some
Pyari, yeah, Pyari.
incredible.
Pyari, yeah.
Yeah. She had a very sweet name. Yeah. So she had some incredible moments in that game as well. But you needed a goal. A goal would have just completed the match beautifully. It would have been fair. You'd all been happy. You'd all be smiling. But goal nahi aaya.
Sir Richard, because Richard is the only name on this panel where a Sir goes perfectly with it. Sir Richard, tell us, what did you make of it, man? Because I was talking to Siddhant at halftime. I said, "Bhai, kya ho raha hai ye?" And he said, "Bhai, give it time. It's a big tournament for them. They'll come into their own." I think about 31st minute they started coming to their own, and I don't think they let Iran into the game. What did you make of it? Was it just purely a lack of penetration, lack of finishing, the occasion, so you couldn't find that one goal?
I think one big factor was the conditioning, right? I think once the Indian players got ahead or the Iran players stepped off the pedal, the conditioning levels were quite obvious, and that's when we started to look a much better team. And initially, when you saw our attacks, we were sort of forcing it. A lot of balls being lumped into the box, a lot of long balls, crosses being attempted from the touchline and things. And as we went on, it got a lot better in terms of the distance that the final pass had to travel. So we were getting a lot more close into the box. The wingers were a lot more inside, and the final pass was traveling a much shorter distance. So I think that I don't know if you remember that one thing where Pyari went and she had a slide, right, and just sort of missed the far post. But you look at the
From
quality of the
Manisha, I
ball
think.
into the box. I think right after
Beautiful.
that we
Yeah.
had another chance. Over there we started to see a lot of what the coach was talking about. I mean, in the interviews building up to the tournament, he spoke a lot about stopping these crosses from coming in, creating chances from inside the box, a lot more final third play. We had a few cutbacks as well that should have met with better finishing. So I think from the 30-minute mark, it looked like we were sort of finding our feet and playing a lot better in terms of what was described, as in if we had to look at what the coach told us that these are the things that we worked on. Then progressively we started to see a lot of that as the game went on, especially towards the end where it wasn't really parking the bus, but Iran was doing emergency defending. And despite that, for us to squeeze out chances and still disturb them, I mean, at least the way they want to play was obvious.
Renedy bhai, would I be right in saying, and for me at least this was the biggest positive, the team played well, they controlled the game for large parts of the game, didn't get that goal, and we've seen that happening in football. It's not a new thing that you hear in football. But for me at least there are 3-4 players that stood out. One would be Manisha, one would be Pyari, Sandy, Sanju was, yes, Sandy, the girl on the right wing as well. There was a defender who was playing along with the captain, Ashalata, Panna. Panna was another defender who I really liked. Then Ratan Bala was another. All these girls, Renedy bhai, are teenagers, 19, 20, 21. And they are forming the crux of your team. I think that's great news for this team going ahead.
I think it's a good start from India. First 15 minutes was a struggle, as we all know. But I think after 15 minutes, India did well, I think. But I really like the way Tamang played. Tamang in the middle, I think he's
that
a good
combination was very good,
player.
Ratan Bala and Tamang.
And Tamang, I think she's a good ball player. And when we could see from the passes, she was trying to. But as a team, I think 4 or 5 players have done well. But then as a team, we couldn't do well. That's why we got a lot of chances, half chances. We could have Dangmai coming in. she have changed the scenario of the game after coming in. She could have got the goal. But everyone has worked hard. Working hard wise, I think everyone has given whatever they can in the field. But can we do better as a team? I think there are a few crosses it could have gone out, but that could have gone in. So I think we have to play better as a team. We have to gel better as a team. But again, this is the first match that they are playing. But people were saying that they will park the bus. Now, before the match, everyone was, even the Indian coach said, but they didn't do that in the first half. Yes, in the second half, they were defending. They were defending quite well. But then we got a chance, but just that we have to gel better. I think we can play better than this.
Richard, when you go back to the drawing board after a game like this, do you say it was a lack of penetration or no? Because you were creating chances, but it was the final pass or the final touch which was missing. So how do you fix that? Or how do you at least try fixing that going ahead into the next game versus Chinese Taipei?
Fixing is, I mean, you go through the thirds, right? As in, you go into the midfield third, then to the final third, then in and around the box. So you try and figure out where your attacking was breaking down, or what sort of chances were they creating. I mean, quality of passes also. So a lot of times you saw that the ball went out wide, but there was no desperation to sort of. So usually with the rule that we keep is the players who have to meet the ball have to stay in line with the ball. So many times our wingers got the ball, but the corresponding strikers were about 10-20 yards behind. So even when they kept coming to the box, there was very slow movement to sort of go in and meet it. So thumb rule is ball goes out wide, the most advanced players go in and attack the central area. So once it's put in, you can start to attack over there. But I mean, in the first 20 minutes at least, or first 30 minutes, that's what we saw, right? I mean, a lot of crosses were going in. The keeper was catching them. It was more like watching the ball go wide. Should I go? Should you be going? And there was good rotation also. I think the advanced midfielder, number 12, kept coming in and adding that extra number. The far side winger kept coming in to add that extra number. So at least we had a plan to sort of get the ball into the box really quickly. And I think the speed of attack is something that would be worked on, because you take that extra touch and the defense settles. You delay it too much and things, then the whole movement sort of breaks down. So I think if you're talking about what happens once you go back to the drawing board, you start to see where you can speed things up, because 100% the next opponents would have watched this and they will be a step ahead. Because if Iran had a plan, it was very sure that they wanted us to play the ball outside a lot in the first half, as in the central block was quite solid for them. They kept sending the ball outwards. And that was something that the coach spoke about, right? He said, I want to avoid wide attacking play and attack a lot down the center. And I think Iran had 4-2-2, at least a box of 4 players waiting in midfield. So we had to keep funneling most of our attacks outwards. And to deal with that, our strikers had to come down and support the build-up. So I think we should find a rhythm a lot earlier. I mean, it shouldn't take us 30 minutes to sort of get into it and things. Like I think Annie also told you, it must have been butterflies and tournament that we were hosting and things. And at least the conditioning levels were very encouraging. I mean, we didn't cramp as much as them. We looked a lot more, let's say, adapted to Mumbai heat and humidity and things. So maybe next game it will sort of fall into place a lot quicker and not really take us as long to do what we were doing, especially in the final third.
Sharda, from a first game, I think they've given a good account of themselves, right? If I'm assuming, if there's a football fans who don't watch Indian football, women's football regularly, उन्होंने कह रही है आओ एशियन कप में गेम हो रही है, चलो आओ देखते हैं. And if you put aside the fact that the number one mistake you can make is कि आप देखते हो यार, अरे मेंस फुटबॉल में ऐसी पास तो होते नहीं, वो सबसे बड़ी गलती आप कर सकते हो. कंपैरिजन कर नहीं सकते आप, क्योंकि अलग है कंप्लीटली गेम. तो उस लिहाज से पहला गेम, पहला मुकाबला, बड़ा मुकाबला, big tournament, you'd suppose, I think they gave a pretty good account of themselves that way.
Yeah, completely. Once they settled down, then you saw what all their strengths were. You saw, like Richard was saying, how they've been training, what their physical state is. It was, in a way, it was good for them that they were playing a team that was playing at their speed, who was trying to match them for speed and play and not playing faster. And because then what happens is that you start to look bad and you can't, you don't have enough time to play. You don't have enough time to make all the little string the passes together, which you were able to do in this match. And they looked very good. And they looked like they had a lot of quality there. There was a lot of energy. of the people, Renedy was talking about Preeti Tamang. I thought she was very, very good in the midfield. You know, she had a presence, and also a couple of the Iranian girls were slightly bigger and taller than her, but it didn't matter. You know, she knew how to. What I liked is how the Indian girls were able to find space, who understood what the space that was there. So if you have to try and introduce the Indian girls to the Indian women's football team to its audience, this is a great match to see all their skills and their intelligence as well in their play. You know, the intelligence with which they played. It was a great match to sort of look at that and see how they were thinking and what they were trying to do, what they were trying to build up. And you just feel really awful that you didn't get that goal. And they had so many tries, but like you said, that's what happens in football a lot. And if you do all the possession numbers and everything, you'll find out that the Indians had some 68 or 60% or something, but it doesn't matter. The Iranians knew towards the end of the match that if we can get points off this, it will be a big win for us. It's a big thing, you know, because they've come in with so much, with so many things against them. That for them to get a win out of the host team, which is almost 20 places higher than them in the rankings, was fabulous.
Yeah, Renedy, I think what was really nice to see is once they took control of the game, it wasn't ki ji ball aaya lamba, because in the first 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, even Richard had touched upon it, ki wherever the fullback was getting it, irrespective of at the halfway line, they are trying to bomb forward to find Pyari or Indumati, whoever was there in whichever space. But once they took control of the game, the ball was kept low. They started making few small passes. Then they would reach out to someone wide, at a Manisha, or you would find Sandy on the right as well. And that way they went ahead. You know? So there was a clear plan of how to move Ade from one zone to another zone after that.
Yeah, it was nice to see they didn't kick out blindly. What normally, you know, girls, they hardly play, but whenever they get a chance to play, you know, they're scared to hold the ball. But these girls, they were trying to build up. They were trying to play passes. That's why we had so many possession. The only thing is we managed to reach the final third so many times, if you see in second half. But the end product, the final pass was missing. And when like Richard was talking about, when we reached the final third so easily, so many times, but then there were hardly any play in the box, even if you want to. Yeah, of course they didn't allow us to attack from the middle because there were already 4 or 5. But then, you know, we got so many chances with one good cross, we could have killed it. But there were hardly any player there, so that final thing is missing. But it's a good step, like you said. You know, it's a good build up. You know, players, they were trying to play some passes in the middle. I think that's what it's needed. And you know, we can't just skip this. And you know, it's all step by step. And I think it's a good step. I hope they do better in coming matches.
Richard, because you know, the need of the hour is that 90 versus Chinese Taipei, right? I am assuming your aim is to get into the quarterfinals, and if you want to get into the quarterfinals, you have to score goals, sir. For whatever you might do before coming into the final third, like Renedy Bhai said, in that aspect, does a 4-2-3-1 work then with that one striker up front? You know, Pyari being there, does it work? Is it imposing enough in your eyes? Or do you suppose you need to change it a little bit just so that you have a little more goal potency as opposed to building up till goal?
No, one thing is, once you saw the whole attack clicking, right, then you saw Indumati also coming in, waiting for the cutback at the edge of the box. You saw the fast side winger coming in. So anytime there were chances being created, there were minimum of 5 players committed to the attack. So either it was Anju who was at the edge of the box or Ratan who came in. And so we had 5 sitting as well. In case the fullback went up, none of the midfielders were joining us higher. But if you look at, let's say, not exactly in and around the box, but the final third of the opponent, when we went in, we had enough numbers to sort of kahin bhi girega to koi mari dega. But again, it's a question of delivery, the movement to, I mean, they were arriving in positions, but again, that final movement to meet the ball and things, because Iran was quite set, right? I mean, they had 2 lines, one line of almost 5 players, and then 1 or 2 just playing ahead of them. So anything that we chucked in, they were quite comfortable dealing with it, barring that one header, which again, I think you'll touch upon
Dangmai.
Yeah, Dangmai's header and things. But if you're talking about the formation as such, there were, I mean, it's quite clear about how they want to create numbers inside the box. In terms of Indumati coming in, Pyari going in and sitting off the 6-yard box ke aspas khelna, and then, like I said earlier, the far side wingers coming in. So I don't think there's so much of a issue with, let's say, do we have 2 strikers? And I mean, who's the second striker? If you're saying we need to look at a change in formation and things, do we have 2 strikers? Is there another proven scorer on the bench where we can possibly consider this. So I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure that it's a careful consideration as well in terms of getting players in the correct position, and then the person on the ball has to make sure that the ball reaches there. And we started doing that once we
True.
got a lot closer to the box. Once the ball had a shorter distance to travel, then we started looking a lot better team, right? Even despite Iran being a bit congested, at least the like I said, the idea was a lot more clearer as the game went on.
True. It wasn't like the old days, where you would see that when you've gone for attack, there's a massive gap between defense and attack. If they were moving up like a unit. So which is why you never really
But
saw
other point
Iran.
is also Iran kept dropping off a lot compared to the
हाँ,
shape in the first 30 minutes.
time दे रहे थे उनको.
Iran's defensive line was a lot higher in the first 30-35 minutes. After that, they kept falling apart. And then you see the distance between the defense and midfield. Itna bada tha. So which is why each time we won the ball forward, and then to play it back to support. We enjoyed a lot more time on the ball because then they were really stretched in terms of the length between the lines, right? So minute the defenders started falling off, second they lost it. Others earlier they were at least holding the line for about let's say momentarily 5 seconds or something like that, which allows people to come in and press. You start to get compressed. But यहाँ पे तो गिरते ही गए. फिर हम लोग, I mean, we started enjoying a lot more time on the ball because Iran started retreating a lot earlier also.
True. But bhai, Annie bhai, welcome back. Good to have you back. We were having FOMO, or fear of missing out, Siddhant. But the point is, भाई वो पुरानी कहावत है ना कि बचपन से कल्चर है बॉल छूने का, इर्द गिर्द गेमें चल रही हैं जैसे ईरान में होता है. It's a football country, right? तो whether you're a football team that's playing regularly, not playing, आप जितना खेलें, वो जब बॉल पैर पे आती है ना, एक कंफर्ट लेवल दिखता है भाई.
Story. Yeah.
हाँ, वो हमारी लड़कियों में नहीं दिख रहा था इतना, बिकॉज हमारे देश में आदत नहीं है बॉल छूने की इतने यंग लेवल पे.
हाँ, so
वहां पे भाई क्या खेल रहे थे वो. like Sharda touched upon the striker, she was brilliant. और यार क्या प्लेयर थी वो भाई. But just because वो अकेले ऑपरेट कर रही थी, so she was standing out. But the 3, 4, 5 players behind her also, who was so good, बॉडी लगा रहे हैं, टर्न मार रहे हैं, फेक दे रहे हैं. It was so nice to see that.
Yeah, on the ball they looked phenomenal actually. Like there were a couple of passages of play, and you see, like the first thing now, I think there are coaches here on our chat, so there's no reason to state this again and again. But in terms of physical performance, in terms of physical training or conditioning, everyone knows that if you're playing at this level, you have to be at that level, right? So everyone is working on those aspects of the game. That considered, when you look at some players who have had almost zero experience of playing at an international level, doing the kind of things they're doing, showing the confidence on the ball, which coaches like, and I mean, these guys have pointed it out before me, will notice, right? That even if you're playing left back in a slightly sensitive situation, I'm not saying you play the ball across to make it problematic for your entire team. But if you can do a touch into space, make room for a pass, and then play that pass, that's pretty much the basics of the game that we're trying to play, right? Get the ball, see what's happening around you, and play it on. I mean, and I think for a team that is making its debut at the continental level, Iran has done phenomenally well. Really.
Brilliant. Sharda, before you leave, anything else you'd like to add from what you've seen in the game? And what would you tell to the people who haven't watched this game? Let's say that for the people who haven't tuned in for the first game, and now on the 23rd, the game is versus Chinese Taipei. What would you tell them to get them to watch the game?
I would tell them that there is a bunch of really talented, like you were pointing out, very young people, teenage girls that are playing football, that are playing at a high level of the competition. Okay, we are hosts. That's how we got to play. They don't play enough, but you should watch them play because they are watchable. They have skill. They have, even though
true.
it's
They're
not
watchable.
sort of
Very nice
ingrained
line.
football, they're very, very watchable. I feel like literally after this match, my thought is, oh God, I want to see them play again. I want to see what they're like again. So it's that kind of because they're fun to watch and they have skills. Even if it's how you would describe it as formally trained and drilled into them skills through a method that you have taken because you don't have a culture like the Iranians have of football, but still it's good to watch. What they'll be like against higher quality opposition, we don't know. Maybe we'll see more about them. But their talent and their willingness to fight and their willingness to just commit and like everyone says, confidence on the ball. When the ball is with you, you have the time to take the decision as what to do next, not out of panic. You're not. They didn't pass out of panic, except in the last right in front of goal when you had that when they were trying to score and they kept missing. Whatever I'm saying, panic. It must be just that's the moment, that's the time you have. But they didn't play in a way that was clustered at any point. I would love to watch them play again, and they are a very watchable side. So I would just say, please, you have to watch these girls. They're just incredible. You have to watch them play, see their talent, and see where they come from and who they are.
One of the things, if I may jump in, one of the things we talked about like earlier was when these guys were on their 5-6 month exposure trip, the way they approached teams that had more experience and have a more developed structure in terms of women's football, was that there was no fear. It was a constant, like, sort of almost 100%, right? Now, in this context, now we are looking at a tournament scenario. And this is something that we've talked about often on the show as well. We've talked about whether it's I-League qualifiers or Asian Cup or at any level. Tournament competition has a different kind of mental impact on the athletes that are performing than any kind of friendly match or other game that you might have played. So while you might have done a certain kind of or had a certain kind of approach when you were playing a friendly tournament for team tournament in South America, here when points are at stake and people are talking about it and there's potential to qualify for the World Cup, वो सारा impact भी ना थोड़ा समझने में I think सबको time लगता है, not just the playing staff but the coaching staff and everyone at large. So I think unfortunate for India today that it didn't really translate right at the last bit. Most of it worked.
Yeah.
Most of it worked really well. Yeah. And there were passages of play where, I mean, on the wings, like, since we talk so much about in men's football, about what's happening on the wings, so much of the wing play for me was really encouraging. I mean, Manisha Kalyan's left foot crossing to a target into the box was
I still feel she needs more control in her cross by. I still think it's more like a smash what she does. But वो एक क्रॉस था बड़ा प्यारा सेकंड हाफ में जो उसने डाला था, आई थिंक 51st मिनट,
और वो अगर आप इस पेस पे क्रॉस डाल रहे हैं तो आपका जो साथी स्ट्राइकर है वो किस पेस से आ रहा है टू मीट दैट बॉल, वो सब में टाइम लगेगा, नो डाउट, बिकॉज ऑल्सो द प्लेयर्स आर चेंजिंग, देयर आर सो मेनी मूविंग पार्ट्स, competition is changing, everyone is growing together. So but I mean, like, overall pretty.
Bhai, so Sharda told me that she needs to leave, which is why I'd gone to her for that final question, and then I would have said, okay, Sharda, thank you so much for joining us, but then you jumped in, and Sharda had to stay for another 5. So Sharda, if you've gotten late, I'm sorry for that. But just thank you so much for joining us. But a reminder that Sharda will be with us.
Such fun to be on this talk and learn from all the gyan that I'm hearing from Renedy, Richard, you, Arjun, from Siddhant, all of you. I enjoyed it enormously. Thanks so much. I feel like I want to be a fly on the wall and all. I feel that's what I feel like at this point. But it was great fun. I enjoyed the game, and I'll be back for the next match at whatever time. Hopefully I'll not be passing out because I had a very long day today. But so thank you.
100%.
I may listen in. Yeah, I may listen in on YouTube
आपने जो ये
as I'm winding down.
जो ये लास्ट 15 सेकंड्स में आपने जो बोला है, इसी का क्लिप चलेगा, ब्रेकिंग न्यूज़ लगाएंगे और हमारे चैनल पे पिन कर देंगे इसको यहाँ पे. So thank you so much, and look forward to having you for that Chinese Taipei game. Thank you so much for joining us on the show, Sharda.
Bye. Good night. Bye.
Renedy bhai, you know, we keep talking about attack in a game where you dominated so much, but in a game where you've dominated so much and controlled the game for so long, a large part of it is due to the defense, right? And possibly also because of the way Iran set up, because they used to leave that girl Age alone. the striker, and however good she was, she would still trouble the players. But what do you have to say about the defense? Whether it's Asha Lata, there was Panna who was stopper back with him, and Panna is not the regular stopper back. She was given a chance in today. There was Sanju on the left full and Dalima on the right full back.
I think the Asalata and Dalima, they all did well. I think there was not too much pressure other than in the first 15 minutes. But after that, it was all in India, trying to play around in the middle of the park. So they didn't have to do too much. What they were trying to, they were trying to build up from the back. They were trying to keep the ball, and they did well. So I think I'm really looking forward. I've never seen Chinese Taipei play, so I'm really looking forward how the Indians, how they will play against, how Indian women they will play against Chinese Taipei. So I don't really know the level honestly. So yes, Iranian, technically they are not bad. It's just that I think the Indians were fitter today because of the weather. They're more acclimatized. But then I'm really looking forward to watch the Chinese Taipei play. I really don't know their level. So it will be a great match, I think, But what we are missing again, sometimes, it's not easy to get into the final third and you lose the ball in the final pass. And
get in with numbers.
That's killing for me, And that's, we could have scored with better touch. We could have scored 2 or 3. And even though the defenders were there, but with one good pass, you can kill it. So I think that's a next step.
I always feel, I don't know, you guys might correct me here. I feel to get the habit of scoring, right? You need to be playing against opposition where you learn to score. And we are in such a phase that if we are playing higher ranked opposition always, scoring is not our number one forte. It's to hold shape in the game. It's to catch them on a counter. And that is 2-3 chances in a game, 4 chances in a game. So वो आदत, when you are dominating a game, when you're in control, कि भाई मैं कंट्रोल में हूं तो मैं आगे जा रहा हूं, ये मैं गोल मारने वाला हूं, 3-4 लोग घुस रहे हैं वहां पे मेरे मारने के लिए. रेडी भाई, in preparation you suppose India should be playing weaker opposition sometimes, should be playing opposition where they're at the same level, so you learn how to dominate a game.
We have to mix it up. We have to play with the better opponents. We have to play with the weaker opponents. Like every coaches, when they start a preseason, they start with the weaker opponents, and then they do it with the better opponents. Yes, that's why it's so important to have a proper league where they can play. But how many matches do these girls play? So then we can talk about, that final pass was missing. It would have been better, this, that. But how many matches do they get? That's the problem here, no? So now everyone is waiting that we, supporting India to, but the girls did well, I must say that, for whatever matches. How many matches? Maybe 4, 5, 10, 11 matches in a year. So how we are going to see that goal scoring kind of thing, how many times? It's very true. How many times did we reach that final 6 yards box? How many times?
Yeah, with numbers.
It's a difficult, with numbers. And suddenly Asia Cup सब बोल रहा है, Asia Cup जीतना चाहिए, ये चाहिए. अरे यार, खेलता तो नहीं है. जब तक नहीं खेलेगा तो कैसा, we cannot just expect them to do better. Yeah.
ये बात सही है. Richard, what do you make of this, bhai? Because from an Indian perspective, I would love to play Brazil. I would love to play Chile. I would love to play Venezuela. Yes, I would love to go to Jordan. I would love to go to UAE, so on and so forth. Okay, sir. And I'm doing that because I don't have system or structure back home in India. But shouldn't it be important that I mix it up with playing a much level playing field or a lower opposition, so that I learn how to control a game, I learn how to dominate a game, I learn how to pump 3-4 goals in a game? You're mute, bhai. Your आवाज is not coming.
Where do they get a chance to play those games? It's not like there are so many options.
In friendlies, bhai. I'm saying when you're organizing
friendlies bhi, profile of opponents bhi UAE or Jordan the na, so I mean those are somewhere in the same ability level as us, because I think Iran beat Jordan on penalties to qualify for this tournament. So then that Iran is a sort of team that can sort of take the game to us, maybe in different climatic conditions and things. क्योंकि हम लोग का इतना preparation के बारे में बोला था, that conditioning के बारे में बात किया, that they were in Kochi to replicate the same conditions, right, on the same coast and things. So at least physically, like Renedy Bhai also said, we more than match them. But when it comes down to goal scorer, कहाँ से आता है भाई? लीग से ही आएगा. मतलब ये 2-3 टॉस करके भी नहीं आने वाला. You need to get somebody who क्लब का फॉर्म लेकर नेशनल टीम के लिए खेलते हैं. नेशनल टीम में स्कोरिंग फॉर्म नहीं
हाँ.
बनाते. नेशनल
Yeah.
टीम में
सर
क्लब
पर
फॉर्म को
हम
आके
हमारा
डिस्प्ले करते
हमारा
हैं.
अलग है
तो
ना सर, हमारा
नहीं
सिस्टम अलग है ना, हमारा
पर
क्लब फॉर्म तो नहीं आने वाला ना अभी. आपका स्ट्रक्चर ही नहीं है ना अभी, तो उस लिहाज से
अभी
मैं कह
उसमें
रहा हूँ,
भी
कीपिंग दैट
फॉरेनर्स आ रहे हैं.
रियलिटी इन
फिर
माइंड.
अभी
हाँ
विमेंस
अभी
लीग में भी
अभी
फॉरेनर्स आ जाएंगे. फिर कहाँ पे मिलेगा
हाँ
स्कोरर फिर?
They are. And for example, Gokulam Kerala plays with a foreign striker and several other members of their team who don't belong to India. When they play AFC club
Hmm.
competition for women, they are playing with foreign players. So it's not at all far removed to say that exactly what is happening with the men's game is what is going to happen with the women's game, unless at this stage where these very good starts are being made, यहीं पे अगर हम we start to get a sense of how we want to structure it, give space for people to play and create those competitions, it's going to be exactly the same
नहीं,
thing.
दूसरी तरफ ये भी देखना है, व्हाट इज ईरान डूइंग, व्हाट इज चाइनीज ताइपे डूइंग एंड थिंग. मतलब
फुटसाल भाई, फुटसाल कर रहे हैं सब लोग.
नहीं फुटसाल पता है, लेकिन एज इन दे प्ले इंडोर्स विद दीस हाई वॉल्स, नो मेन कैन सी
Yeah,
देम प्ले
yeah,
एंड थिंग्स. वो सब
yeah.
ऑल दोस
No,
अकाउंट्स आर देयर.
no,
देन
but like
जमीन
also
आसमान का
because
फर्क नहीं दिखा ना. मतलब वो लोग
हाँ
फॉरेन टूर के
बिल्कुल
लिए तो
नहीं,
नहीं गए.
नहीं.
Iran and things, they didn't do all these
पर भाई
whatever
they
it was.
come from a way evolved culture than India when it comes to football. कहीं ना कहीं that plays a part into how you play in
No,
the
it
game,
plays a
right?
huge part, भाई. पर बात इतनी है, we'll go on for another 5 years talking about the same factors, right? लीग का स्ट्रेंथ नहीं है,
हाँ
लीग का
वही वही
ड्यूरेशन नहीं
सेम चीज.
मिलेगा,
हाँ एग्जैक्ट.
क्वांटिटी ऑफ गेम्स, कल्चर. ये क्या बोलते हैं, कल्चर का पूरा वैल्यू इंटरेक्शन से होता है. यू इंटरेक्ट विद योर कल्चर, यू प्ले दैट ऑफन, यू कम्पीट. जो भी है कल्चर का वैल्यू उसमें ही दिख जाएगा ना. मतलब जहाँ पे यू गेट टू इंटरेक्ट विद द कल्चरल क्वालिटीज, लेकिन वो इंटरेक्शन ही नहीं है. लुक एट द कैलेंडर एंड थिंग्स. देन व्हाई, अगर कल्चर का देख लेंगे, देन यू लुक एट द रीजंस दैट द गर्ल्स आर कमिंग फ्रॉम. देयर यू सी द वैल्यू ऑफ कल्चर. मतलब मणिपुर से इतनी
Right.
लड़कियां आ रही हैं, तो उधर भी उनको दैट्स अ डायरेक्ट पे ऑफ ऑफ अ स्ट्रांग कल्चर ओवर देयर. लेकिन अगेन, इज इट
Totally.
स्ट्रांग इनफ? फिर वहां से पिकअप करेंगे ना. मतलब अगर
Fair
एक्सपोजर
point.
एंड कल्चर का बात कर रहे हैं. सॉरी.
And also
Uh,
it has to be said that uh, uh, it's almost entirely men that are shaping the culture, right? So if men are shaping the culture, mostly for a sport that men want to watch, for other men to participate in, etc., etc., and that is only not happening, then how do you expect the same kind of leadership, the same kind of mentality, the same kind of structure to develop a completely different sport for a different set of people with a different set of I mean, of course we're all trying to score goals, but our perspectives and the way we are approaching the sport and our understanding the sport and our actual execution of the sport are also different. So how is it ever going to happen? Where is the start going to come from in that sense?
hmm. ठीक है भाई. Before we take this conversation more to left or right, सेंटर पे वापस अगर आएंगे तो हमारे साथ वैभव रघुनंदन आ गए. क्योंकि हाल ही में उन्होंने प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस अटेंड किया दोस्त. किसके साथ
Yes,
कौन आए थे
sir.
प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस पे और क्या बातचीत हुई वहां पे? कोच
On,
साहब आए, कौन आए?
only the coach had come here for India, and of
हम्म
course, the player of the match for Iran was the goalkeeper with that one-handed
हम्म
save, clawing it out. So yeah, the coach was there. Actually, I just want to say hi, Renedy bhai, and congrats on getting back home. Yeah, first of all, good to see you after really long. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Thanks. I couldn't hear. Yeah.
Actually, everything that you guys are saying, actually everything that you guys are discussing, I've been listening to you guys in one ear while the press conference was on. The coach
Dedication.
came and the first thing he said was, "You are not given goals; you have to score them," and that is pretty much like how what you guys were talking about. Ki bhai, there were lots of chances, lots of wasted chances, and you were going on. And this is correct. Yeah, like I think it's all about game time. A lot of the girls don't have enough game time, don't have that confidence. And you are absolutely right, Arjun, when you were saying that if you're playing a game which is reliant on counter-attacking football, where you're mostly defending a lot, and you're only going to get 2 or 3 chances in a game, then yeah, it becomes tough to control the game against someone like this, who is also
True.
intent on doing the same thing.
Have I told you I'm a big fan of you, bro? Thanks for saying that part.
Uh,
Yes.
Yeah,
No, but
but good
what else
game.
did
But
he say?
also, I think one
What
of
were
the
the
big
kind of
questions
questions and all that was asked?
yeah, so one of the big questions that was constantly being asked, actually, a lot of people asked it, but he didn't really. He sort of slithered around it. Was why Dang Mei didn't start the game and instead Sandhya
Yeah,
did.
even Sharda was asking the same question.
Yeah, because from the moment that Dang Mei came on, there was like a slight difference in the pace of the game. There was a little bit more. We
More
created a lot
chances.
more chances. She herself had, I think, 2 clear-cut chances to score. Yeah. So I think it was a bit of a question, but he chose not to answer it at all. He said it was just a tactical decision, and he just based it on the fact that some players were doing better in training. So you just have to take his word for it. But you can see clearly that it made a huge difference as soon as she came on. In addition to that, a lot of respect was given to Iran, obviously, because it's their first game at this level, and they've got their first point in their first game. Their coach said that they didn't come here like they were. Again, Thomas Dennerby did say that he was very surprised by Iran in the first 15 minutes because he genuinely didn't. He thought they were going to turn up with like a 5-man defense or something and just try and hold them, but they didn't, and he was genuinely surprised by that. And the Iran coach then actually did say it. He said that they actually came here to win. Like they were totally gunning for 3 points. And because they haven't played the girls haven't got this sort of game for a long time. So actually, you guys are talking about Indian girls not playing. The Iranian girls haven't played as a national team against an opposition for a long while.
At all.
Yeah,
We did talk about that.
Yeah, you did. So same thing. She was also talking about it that hopefully this sort of performance encourages more teams to come and play them or invite them to play because they're very low ranked. So that was the reason that most teams didn't want to go and play them. On the basis of this performance, I don't see any reason to not go and play them more regularly.
But what was the vibe you got from the coach? What was the body language? What was the sense you got?
I think he was a little bit disappointed. Because I think,
3 point नहीं आए आपके पास.
Yeah, very disappointed. I think he was constantly every question, at least the first 2-3 questions, he constantly spoke about how there was a lot of wasted opportunities. They should have got a goal on the balance of play. They should have won. And you can't just get goals. They are disappointed. And it also he recognizes the fact that now it gets difficult for them because China beat Chinese Taipei very handily today. But Chinese Taipei, I would say on just looking at the game, I would say they were a better team than Iran. So you're going to have to play much better. And you definitely need 4 points to qualify for the quarterfinals. 2 points is, or whatever, it's not going to cut it. So you need 1 win from the next 2 games.
Renedy bhai,
about that, the fact that they can make it.
Renedy bhai, as in, what do you make of the Dang Mei's call? Because if I look at it, and hindsight is easy now, you can sit and chat. I liked the fact that you had someone so powerful, someone so direct and good off the bench.
On the bench.
So she clearly made impact मारा उसने. Because जो लड़की playing 11 में खेल रही थी, the 17-year-old girl, off the ball, I thought she was the most tireless worker. लगे हुई थी. She was always giving an option on that right flank. Always.
Yeah, I have not seen many matches from the girls, so but I think whatever coach will always select the players, according to in what training, in what they have done in the training. I'm sure that's why coach have chosen the other girl to play in first 11. But Dang Mei, when she came on, of course, she made a difference, and we could see that. So yes, it's not easy, but sometimes it's easy to come on. There are some players when they come on in the second half or last 40 minutes, they do well. So the Dang Mei proved that. I think it's a good headache for the coach for next match. So Dang Mei is ready. Dang Mei have shown the coach said yes, I'm ready. So now it's a coach who have to choose the first 11. If she will be in first 11, the coach will decide that. But yes, I think she have done well. She have done pretty well.
Just before, of course, we round up the chat a little more because we're going to get chatting with Vaibhav a lot more. But Renedy bhai, before we let you go,
I'm running a high fever.
Renedy bhai, तभी मैं आपको कह रहा हूँ जल्दी से आपको ask you. Before we let you go, there are 5 of us here, And because let's just
Yeah.
assume we're talking to an audience which is not well versed with women's football, the larger
Okay.
audience. So it's
Yeah.
important to highlight players who stood out. One player who stood
Yeah.
out for you from the Indian camp today?
Tamang. There are 4 or
Andrew.
5 players. Tamang played well, I think. Asalata, Chibber, the right side back, is very, very smart.
Dalima.
And when Dangmai came in, she did well. So 4 or 5 players in the goalkeeper, yes. Not much to do, but I think she did well whenever, all those high balls, she could catch it well. Yes, but 4 or 5 players, I think they done well. But just that as a team, we have to gel better. That's what I'm worried of. They have only 2 matches to play against China. It will be a tough one. Like we said, like Vaibhav was talking about, 4 points from 2 matches. It's a tough one. But yes, I think those 4 or 5 girls, I think they did pretty well. But
Sorted,
giving
Renedy.
100%, everyone has done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Oh, brilliant first game to watch.
Thanks.
For anyone, if it's an initiation, thank you, Renedy bhai. Get well soon. Hopefully,
Yeah,
we see
thanks.
you
Yeah,
after the Chinese Taipei game.
Tomorrow I'm going for a test. Yeah, so hopefully. So let's see.
Renedy bhai,
Thanks, guys.
all
Thanks.
the best, Renedy bhai. We wish you all the very best, Renedy bhai.
Yeah,
Take care.
thanks everyone. Yeah, thanks.
Love
Yeah,
you
bye,
for coming
bye,
on. Thank you
bye,
so much
bye,
for this.
Bye. Bye.
Richard, I'll take the
Bye.
same question to you, bhai. If you had to highlight one player, who would be that one player from the Indian camp?
I can talk about the back four as a unit. Really impressed with them. Agar ek player pura nikalna, there weren't any, let's say, standout highlight moments or somebody who came in and changed, barring Grace, who came in the second half, that everybody has been talking about. But I mean, it looked like a disciplined unit. There was plenty of communication, especially when all these aerial balls were coming in, or when the Iran forward was on the charge. And then there were a lot of individual skill and speed over there. They looked quite sort of in sync, right? I mean, going and pressuring her, then the remaining 3 coming and creating compactness behind. So at least you can tell like there's a lot of work that has gone in. And also the midfield, if people had seen a lot of rotation over there. Tamang went up and then Anju stayed back, and then Indumati dropped in sometimes, and then Tamang was in attacking positions. So I mean, overall, there's really no star in thing, because like I think everybody agrees that every player on the pitch gave it the 100% in terms of effort, and I think that's what it will take when you really don't have these overt stars and stuff, right? I mean, those moments and stuff, those are missing. Like in overall, there are a lot of good to identify, and unit by unit, you can see exactly what this whole process has been about. So yeah, but no individuals over here, but yeah, overall, these certain aspects of the game stood out.
yeah.
Annie bhai, for you, one player?
No, I completely agree, man. I mean, of course, like Manisha stands out because from a perhaps strategy viewpoint, for large parts of the game, they're looking at her as an outlet. So therefore, she just receives more of the ball. But otherwise, uh, this is the definition of a team sport for me. Like everyone is playing for one another, covering. I mean, there were times when I was wondering, like, why is Asha not going in for this tackle? Because she's seeing a little bit more of the ball than perhaps she's used to, right? And she can win the tackle, but she has the sort of cognizance to realize that, okay, if I miss the tackle by some chance, then I'm leaving space open for this really quick forward that my teammates and I don't really know very well to get in and have a chance at my goalkeeper, and I don't want to allow that. So I'll take the more cautious approach. And over time, as the game wore on, some of that apprehension wore off. They also understood their opponents a little better, and therefore reacted better, and therefore established a bit of dominance on the game in that sense, in terms of keeping the ball as well as keeping their own shape. The rest of it, goals and all of that, I mean, all of you guys as experts have already commented on it. So, I mean, game time is the only thing that's going to help with those things. And also, I have to say, like, at least luck also stood on the side for once of an Indian football team, where the chances that hit the crossbars and the close ones didn't end up going in. So 1 point is better than no points at all, and I think as a starting point, the whole day, right? China established, of course, that they are here for
Solid.
the business end of the tournament, to go for it, to win it. 4-0 domination of Chinese Taipei. And we will talk about perhaps on another episode of the show. But for India and Iran, mixed bag, I guess. Yeah, that's my last result.
Vaibhav, one player?
I think for me personally, I think Indumati stood out a little bit in the sense that she really ran herself into the ground.
Phases mein.
Yeah, in phases she did. I mean, also I didn't think she was getting enough support from the girl that Dangmi replaced, Sandhya. I personally didn't think that Sandhya was doing enough. So Indumati stood out for me. She did miss one, well, I would say half chance. But otherwise, yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, backline was solid. Goalkeeper had nothing much to do. We did get a little lucky with a couple of the chances. And if you're taking both teams, then I'm going to say that Iranian forward really stood out. Yeah, whenever she did get the ball, whenever she did get the ball, oh man, she was like really.
Are we talking about Zandi?
Yeah.
All right.
Player, what a player.
Very good player, amazing player. So I mean, it was really something to watch her play. I mean, I don't think she touched the ball as much as a lot of our players, but when she did with her back to goal or even running to the ball, it was good to watch. I think a little more of that from our girls would be nice.
I'm gonna go for me, I was most impressed by Ratan Bala in the position that she was playing with I think Tangmai, right? Tangmai was the name. Tamang, sorry. Yeah, Tamang and Ratan Bala. But I really liked Tamang. Tamang was the girl with the pink hair. Ratan Bala also with her. But what I really liked about that girl was if you see how many missed passes and the quality or the characteristic of that position is ball आए जल्दी से touch मारो pass करो. You have to keep moving it. You're like the engine. Cut. आपने slow कर दिया तो पूरा game slow हुआ. So that's what I really liked about that girl, especially when India started controlling the game. Again, one touch, Thak found a pass. One touch, again, Thak found a pass. Nothing fancy. And I found that combination. Let's change it a bit. I found that combination to be really nice. First 15-20 minutes, they seemed a little out of place. But once they got control, I thought the main control came from those two. And then, of course, the ball moved out. Jahan se bhi aapko attack karna tha. It was Tamang and Ratan Bala for me were really good. I really liked them. And hopefully they can come into their own. And for Indumati, bhai, I think I feel there's so much more. The girl has given you glimpses that if she comes into her own, and the Indian team is also in that momentum, she has so much more to offer. एक second half में I remember there was a throw that came in, उसने ठक से अंदर से मारा, player उस तरफ चले गया. It didn't come off, the attack didn't come off much, and I'm not saying उससे एक player पता चल जाता है इतना अच्छा player है, तो उससे पता चलता है कि यहाँ पे कितना है, कि आप एक step ahead आगे सोच रहे हो. So lots of positives for the Indian team. Goal नहीं मिला कोई बात नहीं, but lots of positives for the women's team in their first game of the Asian Cup. I'll tell you what now, जो हमारे साथ लड़के हैं, because we've been non-stop had 150 odd people on the chat. We're opening it up for your questions now. We've got Richard here. We've got Vaibhav, who's been following the women's game for a long time. हमारे क्रांतिकारी भाई भी आ जाएंगे. पता नहीं कहाँ गए हुए हैं. तो आप लोग अपने सवाल देने शुरू करिए. And we'll start answering your questions, because after that we'll wrap it up quickly. And then move ahead and look ahead to the next game versus Chinese Taipei. So if you have questions for any of us, write down our name and put it on the chat, and we will take your questions and try answering them. 4-5 of them. Not taking too many, because then it'll just keep on going on and on and on. So that's the key. कोई सवाल आते हैं, ठीक है. Football नुक्कड़ से आया है. What conditions have been different if Bala was there? Vaibhav, you've been following this.
100%.
Bala, team without Bala.
100%. Yeah, like I mean, you got 52 goals. How can you replace someone who scored 52 goals for the country and basically scores goals for fun in the league? I would say she would have really thrived. She's by far the best striker in the women's game in India for sure. And and in the final third, like Renedy was saying, and Richard was also saying, it takes a different kind of player, like to really make that difference, to show a little bit of calmness, to have that. And 100%, it would have been a huge difference if Bala was there. I actually feel really bad for her also. Like she's, done so much she's played for so long, done a lot for raising the profile of the game. and she's missed out on this really big tournament at home at the wrong time. So I really feel for her.
Yeah. Richard, but you suppose there were lots of positives from Pyari's game? I know it's new for her. Goal scoring comes with time. It just doesn't come, ekdam se. You suppose she could grow into something really good for the national team?
Yeah, there are enough indication in terms of the movement and things, because it would have been picked for the position because of the club form that she's shown, and certain traits that she's shown over the preparation period, right? So I think one is she has to be given the time, and then again get repeated games in that particular position, and hopefully the playing style or the utility of her in the national team remains the same. As in, if there is a coach change by any chance, and any sort of alterations happen, then it counts. But again, who are the other attacking options? If all those stats that Vaibhav was just mentioned with 52 goals and things, what happens to her once Bala comes back into the fold? So right now, this seems like an adjustment. I don't know where exactly Bala plays, and sorry for my ignorance, if she's just like behind the front line, or does she play as an out and
I
out
think behind the front
striker?
line. I think behind the
Yeah,
front
so
line.
I heard like it's more of an advanced midfielder role and things. So
Yeah.
it'll depend. I mean, any striker's bread and butter is the service that they get, right? I mean, the sort of opportunities that are created for them. So all the dynamics need to come in. But I mean, at least from my perspective, I haven't seen enough to give you a sort of confident answer. Yeah, she's the one for the future and things, because I haven't really seen most of the other players come in. But based on today, at least you see the work ethic. You see a very hardworking player working up and down, and
Yeah.
so there are a lot of boxes to check off in terms of playing as a
Yeah,
lone
I just
striker.
feel, I just feel for this girl. You keep playing her, you keep playing her. She's going to grow into a beast. Really come into her own, and would serve the national team for years to come. और कोई सवाल भाई? अभी एक 4-3-3 वाला आया था, पर 4-3-3 खेल नहीं रहे थे वो 4-2-3-1 ना रिचर्ड? 4-2-3-1 चल रहा था.
नहीं
Pretty
बोल
much
सकते हैं. I
ज़्यादा
mean,
बदला नहीं game.
formations are heavily interchanging, right? I mean, once you go into attack, it becomes completely different, and depends on where you're watching it from. You can counter 4-2-3-1 as a 4-3-3, retreated forwards and whatnot. So formations, it's not so much the formation, but the principles that apply, right? How you behave on the pitch. I mean, how does it morph, and what the organization is of a 4-3-3. You can be a very defensive 4-3-3, or you can be a very expressive 4-3-3. So based on that, formations are just a way where you stand on the pitch. Actions and I mean, the way you organize yourself is what matters far more. So best formation, worst formation, depends on what you're doing with it.
Fair point. Nice answer also.
Can I
Next
just
question.
like tell you? Sorry, like I'll tell you guys, we're just talking about future and all. In the last 10-15 minutes, Thomas Dennerby gave two girls, like really young girls, a chance. By the way, Shilki, she's 16 years old, and Sumati Kumari is 17 years old, and they were both given a chance. Sumati plays as a forward. So I also just want to tell you guys that Sumati is from Jharkhand, and when she came on, my parents, I swear to you, my parents stood up and clapped. All right. It was really weird for me, but it was they did that.
Was it weird because they've never clapped for you, or was it like you thought they were clapping for you?
Yeah.
सवाल जी, अगला सवाल हमारे को एक बड़े सवाल आ रहे हैं यार यहाँ पे. Thank you so much for your questions. Chinmoy has said this. Chinmoy is a regular listener. Chinmoy, thanks for your question. Do you guys feel Manisha's lack of experience was seen in the lack in finishing those chances? But Chinmoy भाई वो ज़्यादा finishing वाली areas में दिखी नहीं हमें. वो तो wing पे खेल रही थी ज़्यादार.
She had one header, I think,
crosses.
that's it.
Yeah, one header. हाँ, one header वो अंदर आई थी उस time पे from Indumati's cross. Should have been better. But I think if anything, I would say if you had to scrutinize a game, then it would just be crossing, a little more control on the crossing. I think there's a lot of power. It's just being smacked in. Good crosses nonetheless, but yeah, a little more control on the crosses and be a lot better. Let's get another question now, because we're touching an hour, and I think we'll end it there. Richard, did we miss Sangeeta Basfor? I'll take it to Vaibhav. Vaibhav, did we miss Sangeeta Basfor, and what would she have added to the team if she was playing?
Yeah, I mean, a lot more experience for sure. But again, like, I don't know if we missed her because the people who stood out for you, as you, Arjun, especially, that's the kind of position she would have been playing in. So, I mean, I think it's pretty much covered that way.
Okay.
Again, I can't say we would have missed her simply because, again, we don't see enough of the women playing together. We haven't seen enough games. I've only seen her play 3 times this year. So, and sure, she played against different opposition. This is a completely different game to the games that I've seen them play this year, simply because this is a game where India had a lot more possession than usual. तो वो पूरा मतलब change हो जाता है, पलट जाता है पूरा. So I wouldn't say.
मेरा question Vaibhav के लिए है, क्योंकि you've been following it a lot closer than me, but I mean this the number of teenagers that are there in the team looks like a total generational replacement. I mean, where are the mid 20-year-olds? Where are the 26? नहीं, nice नहीं बोल रहा हूँ, मतलब where are the 23, 24, 27, 28, 30, 31-year-olds?
नहीं वो ठीक है, but मैं कह रहा हूँ इसका एक अच्छा नजरिया ये है कि these girls are standing up and they're playing.
नहीं, पर गए किधर? Where is the previous generation of players? Because you're talking about a continental tournament. इतने teenagers भी नहीं होते, मतलब you look at a general team profile, if you go down the age profile and things, average age of the team and stuff, इसमें जिनको playing time मिल रहा है, and plus lot was spoken about the quarterfinals and things. So any idea who are the prominent mid-20s and early 30s that are missing out on this? As in
see, again, like it's the same thing, na? Like it's the long answer to this question is that if they're not getting enough game time, if there's not a consistent league, अगर खेलने का opportunity नहीं मिलता है, then by the mid-20s or like the late 20s, the girls are like, thank you very much, हम nationals खेल लेंगे. If you have the nationals, but we are done. We don't want to play. They're out, most of them. I mean, I would say the senior members of this squad would be like Kamala, for example. She would be among the senior members of the squad.
She scored 33 international goals, huh? Chat pe bol
yeah, absolutely.
Indian way
yeah, absolutely. That. I mean, when we were talking about, I think this is what we were talking about, Renedy was saying, I think, that bringing someone on like Dangmei, saving her for the last bit as a super sub with the legs. I would say Kamala is like a way better option. I mean, I'm not saying don't bring Dangmei on. I would start with her and bring Kamala on later, man. Like, she's an amazing option to have right at the end. Like, amazing control, speed, touch, everything. So it's sensible to do that.
Awareness, game time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, also, I will also say that there's a lot of young players because a lot of the young kids have been training with Thomas Dennerby. He prefers also younger players. He likes younger players.
So there's an overlap from the World Cup that was supposed to happen here.
Yes, absolutely. Like Sumati, these girls,
that explains a lot, yeah.
They're all from the under-17 squad.
What happened? I mean, I guess in this, the gender angle also comes into play a hell of a lot more because there's a lot less sort of scope for you to just even maintain your level of fitness or try to get a club or try to do this. You can't go down a league. Like, suddenly you're a national team.
Yeah, you can't.
If you get dropped, you can't go down a league and get game time. Right? You have
nowhere
to go other than back home. So at the age of, like, in this 23, 25, the young women, the girls who are becoming women, they are in school, and many of them are in residential facilities, whether with the Sports Academy, Sports Authority of India, or with a couple of clubs or somebody else that's running a residential coaching center, or in centers where women's football is quite active and there are many local clubs where they can travel to and from training. Unfortunately, other than that, not much happens, right? Then you have one-off tournaments, leagues, events, or whatever, which happens like 1 month a year, seasonal hota hai. So for that you train, and then you are in that condition, and you play that and you move on. But it doesn't really give a national team kind of head coach anything to go off. It's actually very similar, and again, you guys are talking about this.
Yeah, so you would back the girls you've seen and who
absolutely, that's all. Yeah, you have to trust the people.
Kind of lives and training and diet and all aspects of their lives actually is something that I guess we should get into later. But all aspects of their lives are governed by football and the people that are kind of taking them in that direction. So while there are many positives to it, I mean, there are other things to also later on perhaps consider and talk about. but that we'll get to
True.
later.
I went like this because I'm not saying peace. I'm saying two more questions. And थोड़ा challenge करो यार. ये कैसे सवाल हो रहे हैं? थोड़े tough सवाल भेजो, 2 सवाल भेजो. आखिरी 2 सवाल हम बात करेंगे. Do you think the women's team would be given as much chance as they are being given now, or it would be just like the
This is a
men's?
question not for us, man.
Under-
This is not a question for us, bro. This is a
नहीं
question for
मतलब
the
आगे
authorities.
चांस मिलने के लिए लीग होनी चाहिए ना खेलने के लिए. तो मतलब इसमें किसी का डिसीजन ही नहीं है. अगर आपके पास कुछ खेलने के लिए नहीं है, तो फिर आपको
नहीं,
चांस
but
कहाँ मिलने वाला है? मतलब वो अंडर 17 वाले लड़के तो बेंच को सिकाई कर रहे हैं, लेकिन अब फाइनली पहुंच गए हैं. काफी सारे लड़के खेल रहे हैं अब आईएसएल में, लेकिन यहाँ पे तो लीग ही
भाई
नहीं है.
कितने साल हो गए
अब
यार?
नहीं भाई,
5
पर
साल
आप
बाद.
ठीक है, आप 2 साल की लीग में कहोगे कि कोविड ने अड़चन डाली. ठीक है, मान लिया आपकी बात. कोविड ने
No,
पूरी
but
दुनिया में अड़चन डाली है, आपकी प्रॉब्लम हुई है.
if I
Hopefully
can,
now you
like,
have a league next year, and you go from small steps. So if you've had a league for a month, you go for a league for a month and a half. Small steps. You can't suddenly expect 1
I
महीने से
think,
4 महीने की
I mean,
league.
I think the important
You know?
question, like, I will just tweak his question a little bit and say, ki, it's cool, like, this women's team, like, what happened to the next generation of that under 17 World Cup team? Like, what happened to the generation after that? We didn't hear as much about them. They didn't, I mean, itna हमने नहीं सुना उन players के बारे में. They didn't get as many exposure trips and games and minutes. So I think that's the thing that we should ask कि भाई this women's team, lots of exposure, बहुत ही बढ़ा चढ़ा के हमने इनको आगे बढ़ाया है. बहुत लोग बात कर रहे हैं. Can we please continue this and do it for the next like 4 years so that the next Asian Cup also they can play and qualify for it? That's like the important
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I completely second that. And it's not a question of just saying simple things like what is the next generation or what's going to happen or not. Like there's a AIFF official press release quoting the president of the All India Football Federation saying that, oh, you guys are doing us proud, and if you qualify for the quarterfinals, we will give you a prize money. I mean, if you have a prize money to give to me, why don't you give it to me and many of my friends so that I can play a tournament, so that I can get good enough to be able to do something for my country, rather than to expect me to jump from the sky and do something for my country and then win the prize money. It's not a video game lottery type situation.
But that's like I don't think the AIFF president is too much different from the AFC. Yeah. But again, I don't think the AIFF president is too different from the AFC. Like they are saying कि आप top 4 में finish करिए, आपको पैसे देंगे. ये बोल रहे हैं आप.
Has a full continent to deal with. Yeah, now we are only talking about India and India's women's team, right? Or women footballers in India, or women's football in India, and like among the 4 of us, none of us are really representing. So like same as this, I think like all of the same questions need to be asked at a much higher level. That if the game has to grow and if there has to be an interest, a sustained interest in developing the game, it has to come from. Yeah.
But just Richard, before I head to the last question, because you've had so much experience in working in structure, developing grassroots, and that's no doubt where you need to start for the women's game. But the point is, sir, आप जा रहे हो एक problem सुलझाने के लिए, but the problem is so vast. You can only attack one at start. I'm saying, so if you were to start, which point would you start at? Where would you focus first? And then gradually build on it. आगे जाके, because एक time पे तो होने नहीं वाला. Gradual build पे ही होगा, चाहे जो भी हो.
नहीं, वो that entire policy of trying to start big और national level पे कुछ करेंगे. I mean, if the local level is strong enough, बहुत है. If let's say you have a fixed calendar, ना, तो बोल दो कि from let's say June to December, all the local football needs to wrap up. That is, and only teams जैसे अभी ये AFC Champions League का देख लो, unless your local league has got let's say your national league has got 27 games, you don't get to play in the AFC Champions League. तो अगर कर्नाटका विमेंस लीग बोल दो या मिजोरम विमेंस लीग, मणिपुर विमेंस लीग और इम्फाल विमेंस लीग, अगर स्टेट वाइड आल्सो इट्स नॉट पॉसिबल. मुंबई विमेंस लीग, महाराष्ट्र विमेंस लीग इज नॉट पॉसिबल बिकॉज वी हैव क्रेजी नंबर्स इन द कंट्री. मतलब जो इफ यू टॉकिंग अबाउट स्केलेबिलिटी एंड थिंग्स, बॉम्बे के अंदर ही ये आधे देश के पॉपुलेशन फिट हो जाएंगे. take half of Eastern Europe and things, you'll get 5-6 countries that will fit into Bombay quite easily. So numbers is not a problem, but this whole thing of us having very broad and shallow processes or systems. तो हमको सबको चौड़ा करना है, पैन इंडिया ये वो करना है, लेकिन बहुत शैलो है, शैलो इन टर्म्स ऑफ योर क्वांटिटी ऑफ एंगेजमेंट. तो लीग को 8 मैचेस में खत्म हो जाता है, 3 मैचेस में सब कुछ खत्म हो जाएगा, फिर नॉकआउट शुरू हो जाते हैं. सो नीड्स टू बी नैरो एंड डीप. सो इफ इट्स अ लोकल लीग दैट गिव्स यू 20-25 गेम्स and that feeds a regional league. तो South India के top 5 teams आके represent करेंगे, then that feeds the national league. You have conferences, बोल दो या Southern Conference, Northern Conference, but to even qualify for the intra-conference thing, you need to have only leagues that give you 20 games are allowed to send the teams up for recommendation. वरना बहुत सस्ता हो जाता है भाई. मतलब 2 हफ्ते में लीग को निपटा के आगे बढ़ा देंगे, then everybody suffers. And logistics का बात
एनी
करो,
भाई गए थे ना, उन्होंने देखा था.
No, but exactly like for just day before, I think whenever we did the preview chat on that day, the Kerala Women's Premier League ended, and Gokulam have won the Kerala Women's Premier League. They played 9 games, scored 93
Brilliant,
goals, and conceded 0.
But 9 game, forget the goals. I'm saying 9 game खेले हो आप 9 गेम किसी और के खिलाफ वो भी खेले होंगे 9 गेम. सर गोल मारना, गोल खाना तो बात की बात है, पहले तो फील्ड पे आके खेलना.
I think 10 game अगर आपने 10 टीम को लगा दिया है, that's itself like it's a pretty, I mean I think sure
तो इसमें ही भाई मतलब अगर ये 3 लेग्स में हो जाएंगे ना, you play each other 3 times, you play each other 4 times, और लोग बोलते हैं बोर हो जाएंगे. हम लोग तो पूरा देश तो ये क्रिकेट सीरीज जब होते हैं 5 ODIs एंड 5 टेस्ट मैचेस बैक टू बैक, उसके लिए बहुत पेशेंस है. लेकिन जब बोलते हैं कि watching football, same team playing each other more than twice doesn't work, but Croatia does it, Korea does it, Scotland does it. All these countries play each other more than twice to make up the league table. मतलब 9 games पे क्यों रुके? 18 करो, 27 करो, जो भी 9 times का टेबल है 36 कर लो.
वो तो छोड़ो यार भाई. रिचर्ड, अभी मतलब no disrespect to the people who are watching, but सिर्फ 100 लोग हमें देख रहे हैं, राइट? हम भी लगे ही हुए हैं.
हाँ तो ठीक है ना, 100 लोग को घर पे बिठाओ, सोचो कैसे होगा.
हाँ,
let's be honest guys, इसमें से 10 हमारे दोस्त हैं.
You brought the point spot on, man, Richard. Like you can't build a structure from the ground up. If you're looking at people watching at a global level, that's not going to happen. The point is to generate interest where the game is happening, where the game is at.
वो मेरे को पता नहीं आप लोग ने वो केरला सेवेंस का वो थ्रेड देखा कि नहीं? You look at the crowds over there. You go to this. नहीं, ये तो लास्ट ईयर का उसने कोविड टाइम्स पे फोटोज डाले हैं. इतने मास्क वाले बंदे बैठे हैं स्टैंड्स पे. Not a space for even सारा कागज भी नहीं बैठ पाएगा, उसको वर्टिकल रखेंगे. And then if you look at कोलकाता फुटबॉल का डिस्ट्रिक्ट लीग्स के जाके फोटोज देखो. कोलकाता फुटबॉल का एक सब लिंक है, this हुगली एंड अपना कल्याणी एंड ऑल दैट. कल्याणी का जो दूसरे ग्राउंड्स है, मिट्टी के ग्राउंड्स है, उधर कितने लोग आके देख रहे हैं भाई. मतलब जगह ही नहीं है.
You're absolutely right, and this is not just, I mean you're talking about 2 places that have like that are traditionally known for like having a huge support base for football. But I can tell you that just I think I'm going to say about 3 or 4 weeks back, I was in the south of Jharkhand, and we were just driving past one village, my father and me, and there was one football game happening, और पूरी गांव लगी हुई थी वहाँ पे. और हम भी रुक के देख रहे थे. We were like, क्या हो रहा है यहाँ पे? यहाँ पर क्यों भीड़ लगी हुई है? It's like just
I think a few years ago there was a touring before the women's senior team got actually some kind of status as a senior women's football team. There was a touring kind of arrangement with a Dutch, I think, academy squad, or maybe from their center of excellence or whatever. Maybe it's back in 2012 or 13 or something. Maybe, I think Vaibhav, you had come in short. I'm not sure, maybe. Anyway, so the games happened in Kolhapur, right? This is a under 19 or something, an academy Dutch team playing against an India team. I think Aditi Chauhan definitely was part of that squad. I'm not sure if too many others were. Bala was there. Maybe a couple of other players as well. Or maybe not too many. But anyway, at that point when these guys played exhibition games in Kolhapur, 25,000 people in that stadium were there easily. Oh. The game was broadcast locally by the local cable network. So some people were watching on TV as well. It was the only event happening in town. So valid question I think was raised in the last chat. Why are these games happening in Mumbai and Pune and Navi Mumbai? वैसे ही हजारों चीजें होती हैं. Why don't you take them to the places? Vaibhav raised the question where the talent comes from, where the players are coming from. Take them to Ranchi, take them to Kolhapur, take them to Goa, take them wherever else they are coming from.
Take them to Khuman Lumpak, man. ले जाओ ना
Yeah,
मणिपुर
Manipur.
पे खिलाओ वहाँ पे.
For sure. And the other thing is, in places like Kerala, where the culture is highly developed, where the sevens and stuff is happening, there, I think men have to make space to allow space for women's football to grow and develop. Because otherwise, what's happening is that all of the fields, all of the times, are always occupied, and there's not then any room for a different sport or a different kind of sport to grow and develop. So that's also something that planners, and since you have some influence on the planning community, Richard, you should put that to them, that they have to bring into the picture, that our domination, male domination of the fields is not doing well. Because even though sort of the Kerala government came out, for example, they held the senior nationals, right? They came out and said, we want Kerala women's football to grow the same way Kerala men's football has. But it was a very half-hearted kind of, it was a feel-good measure. They wanted to host a tournament and all of that.
कल तो इंडियन मिसोजिनी का एक वीडियो आया था. It's covering the same points about how across society, politics, every walk of life, it's a heavily male-dominated sort of function that's overriding everything. So वो लोकसभा और राज्यसभा का बता रहे थे, like the women have got 12 and 8% or something out of 720.
Look at this show right now, yeah. Like there's 4 of us guys who are
चार
talking
लोग हैं
about
और
women's
women's
football. Yeah, I'm sorry, like.
सर सवाल है बिफोर हमारी चर्चा आगे बढ़े.
Oh, there you go.
नहीं,
Yeah.
क्योंकि आपने पॉइंट लगाया यहाँ पे. Will you get more women on the discussion panel to have as many women's and their point of view? हमारा भाई बताएगा. DJ Annie, sir. Sharda was already there.
DJ Annie is like a great name. I'm gonna go with that now.
No, of course. I mean, we would be happy. Actually, normally, if we were to be, let me say, like this morning, I sent out messages to my friends in Indian football and in women's football specifically, and some of them happened to be in the national team, and they were all kind enough to take the time to respond and say, we appreciate the fact that you guys are watching and all that. I think we are all involved in the conversations together. Bringing people onto public platforms to talk shit the way we do, with the freedom that we do, is also a privilege that has been accorded to us by larger society. And so we will continue to do that till our women comrades will be up for joining us. And hopefully that will be soon. Sharda is, of course, on another level. I mean, the kind of work that she's done over her career, many of us hope to even, I don't even hope to match up to those.
No, hope to, बस वो 10% भी करने बड़ी बात है.
But in other terms, it's a very valid point that has been brought up, and it's it's our shortcoming as well as one of the systems that more women are not organically present in our conversations and our networks as such. Some of us play with women on a regular basis and engage with them on the subject of this sport on a regular basis. But again, it takes time, you know.
ठीक है भाई, सुन ली आपकी बात. देखो जी,
आज yourself on camera.
देखो जी, people might not like me for this.
On that front, then I think many women counterparts in my position would. So, you know, for now it is.
मेरा एक simple मानना है. What is progress? And I'm only looking at the team that's playing. If I had to do the utmost in terms of giving back in the way we're analyzing the game, and say a team member is watching this, I would want to talk about the game. I would want to talk about how they played, how they moved, because for me, first, they're football players. बहुत टाइम से हम ये कहानियां चलाए जा रहे हैं कि inequality है, मैं नहीं deny कर रहा हूँ उसको दोस्त, but कभी ना कभी अगर आपको प्लेयर को वो दर्जा देना है, प्लेयर का जो भाई भारत के लिए खेल रहा है, उस मुकाम पे खेल रहा है, तो सबसे बड़ा दर्जा आप वो दे सकते हो. You don't identify them by that story. Of course, it's there. Never ignore it. But identify them by saying कि यार ये क्या खेलती है फ्लैंक पे भाई, क्या काटती है, क्या क्रॉस देती है, क्या होल्ड करती है बीच में, क्या आगे गोल मारती है. फोकस ऑन द गेम एंड देन इर्द गिर्द जो होते रहेगा, ऑफ कोर्स उसके बारे में भी चर्चा करनी चाहिए, नॉट इग्नोर इट. बाय द वे, सौरभ ऑन द chat has said a very nice thing. He said, "Are there any women on the chat?" And it's a zero answer. So I don't think any women are also watching the show. I think we're done with the questions. वो एक मैंने एंड के लिए बड़ा अच्छा रखा था, एक बड़ा प्यारा हिरेंद्र डिगरसे ने लिखा था, because
I
we know
mean,
we
our
all
YouTube analytics tell us that our viewership is, I think, 99.9% male. So there is no doubt. And if anyone knows, Google Baba
एक
knows.
नॉन बाइनरी
I mean, in
बाइनरी
one
भी है,
way, I
नॉन
think
बाइनरी
it's
भी
great.
लिखा है.
If like, I gotta say, like, it's really good. Like, I mean, if there are 100 guys who are sitting and here listening to, so actually, I've just got a text from a friend who, a woman who said, "Hey, I'm watching." So there's definitely one woman who's watching this
चलो
show.
जी, चलो जी, सही है. चलो कुछ तो कर रहे हैं. नहीं, मैं सर आपको
Yeah.
मैं बता दूं, एक वैभव भाई, क्योंकि देखो जी गंद भी बड़ा आ रहा है चैट पे, तो गंद पे मैं नजर रख रहा हूँ. एक गंद आया है हिरेंद्र डिगरसे का. उसने कहा है, आस्क वैभव हाउ डज ही मेंटेन सच अ ब्यूटीफुल बियर्ड फॉर अ ब्यूटीफुल
मैं
मैन.
जा रहा हूँ भाई. मैं और ये.
Wow,
कैसे
like, I think Ari's
केड़ा
just being
तेल
jealous. Yeah.
सरसों दा, नारियल दा, केड़ा तेल लग रहा है. हैं? पूछा है भाई, सही में पूछा है. He's asked, हिरेंद्र, आई एम आस्किंग योर क्वेश्चन बड़ी. मैं तो उसी पे अटका हुआ हूँ. चाहे जितने भी सोसाइटल एंड कल्चर वल्चर के, मैं वहीं अटका हुआ था, कि वेट कर रहा था मौके का कि कब पूछूं ये सवाल. बताइए सर, अपने अपनी दाढ़ी का राज बताइए जल्दी से.
The extreme laziness helps a beard grow stronger.
Bruce is the secret of my energy.
ये रहा
Hey,
वैभव, how can I
laziness
get a
is the
beard like
secret of
you?
my energy.
Hey, क्या बात है. One guy, Rohan is saying AP Dillon. Looks like AP Dillon. So सही है भाई, congratulations. Now we're going into that zone of
Yeah,
it's
no,
called
it's
BC. So I think it's time to end the show. Richard, sorry bhai, I know
We're
we've
going into
gone
that
way
zone
past
where
your bedtime,
Richard,
buddy.
where Richard climbs out of the screen, grabs you, and says, "Shut up."
Yeah. No, the only reason I'm doing this is because he's not next to me. He's in Bangalore, bro. So he can't do it. But तभी मैं थोड़ा उसका फायदा उठा रहा हूँ. But Richard, thank you once again, buddy.
Cheers, bhai.
Thank you so much for coming, and we hope to see you again after the Chinese Taipei game, भाई.
नहीं
मजा
तो
आएगा
अच्छा
उसके
होमवर्क
बाद.
करेंगे अभी
Hopefully the
चाइनीज
girls,
ताइपे के ऊपर. We
है ना,
good to build up to
उनकी
it.
पिटाई हुई है आज पहले मैच में भाई. चाइना ने बड़ी
नहीं
पिटाई करी
देखा
है.
था,
But they
15
had
मिनट
some
देखा
good
था मैच
moments.
का.
I will also say they had some good moments. मतलब 10 मिनट 15
Physically
मिनट
far
अच्छा
better
खेला.
than Iran, yeah. Like as
है
athletes,
ना?
far
है ना?
better.
It looked like.
मजा
चाइनीज
आएगा.
ताइपे.
हाँ
ओ सर, तो
Yeah,
फिर
yeah,
तो गेम
Chinese
होने वाला है,
Taipei.
कैंसिल होने वाला है.
Absolutely.
ठीक है जी. Richard Hood, Vaibhav, Raghunandan, Siddhant Annie, thank you so much for joining us on the show. A reminder to all of you, we will now come live after the Chinese Taipei game, which is the 23rd of this month. Final whistle और ठप से हमारी गाड़ी यहाँ पे शुरू हो जाएगी. You are watching 420 grams. Thank you for watching. Good night.